Flip the switch, turn it on. Animation's never gone. From Toontown tales to frames that glow. Behind the scenes, come join the show. It's Lightbox. Bright ideas, cartoons alive. Lightbox, where animation thrives. Sketch it, ink it, bring it to life. Let's talk anime, art, and cartoons tonight. Lightbox, the way to that way.
Welcome to Lightbox, the official podcast of Wanimate, the West Australian Animation Association. Whether you're an aspiring animator, a seasoned professional, or simply a fan of the magical world of animation, you've come to the right place. My name is David O'Connell.
I'm Lindsay.
And I am Connor, a small-time animator who's filling in for Tanya this episode to give a younger perspective.
Excellent. We need someone that's not Gen X. And we'll be your guide to this monthly journey into the heart of the animation industry in West Australia. Each month, Lightbox will bring you the latest and greatest in animation news, from upcoming films to shows to industry discussions that inspire and empower the talented animators who call West Australia home. We'll also delve into the creative process and challenges faced by local animation as they work tirelessly to bring their unique visions to life. So buckle up and get ready to be amazed. We'll explore the vibrant, ever-evolving world of West Australian animation. This is Lightbox, and we're just getting started. But before we do, I wish to acknowledge and honour the traditional custodians of the land we're streaming from, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We recognise and celebrate their enduring culture, the rich tapestry of Indigenous arts, and the invaluable contributions they make to the vibrancy and cultural diversity of this city and region.
Oh, thank you, Dave. But before we dive into today's content, we'd like to issue a quick advisory warning. While our channel is generally suitable for most audiences, there may be occasions where we delve into topics or showcase content that might not be appropriate for the younger viewers. We strive to create engaging and enjoyable content for everyone, but please be advised that some material may not be suitable for children. Parental discretion is advised, and we encourage you to review the content before sharing it with younger audiences. Our goal is to provide a safe and enjoyable viewing experience for all, and we appreciate your understanding and support. So tonight's all about horror, so gather around, kids, and turn those lights out. So Dave, give us the news, mate.
All right, so let's get into it. So first off, we should mention we've got the Wanimate AGM coming up 30th of October on 7:30 p.m. So that's going to be on our Discord server, is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have been spamming that everywhere, so I definitely say before the night, I'd say click that link of one of the many places that I've put it, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or in the Discord. Get onto the Discord, make sure you have an account, otherwise you might have to do a couple things here and there. But then once that's all sorted, on the night when we actually do start the meeting, I'll announce it, and then everyone will be able to just join in. If there's anyone that doesn't know how the system works, I can explain. But essentially, people can put their hand up if they need to have a talk. But yeah, anyway, we'll go through that. We'll kick off all the old committee members, including us, and we will do it all from scratch.
Forced redundancy. What can I say?
Unemployed again.
Gosh, damn it, All right.
Let's
Go
get
ahead
into
and
it.
say what's happening.
All right, so we've got a new Simpsons movie on the horizon. What was the last one?
1,000 years ago. When Connor was half his age, I bet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's reputedly due 2027, so that'll be something to look forward to.
2007.
2027.
Wow.
Oh boy.
That means it'll be around for 37 years. I remember it when it came out in 1990.
Yeah.
I had my Bart Simpson t-shirt nice and early before the series started because I realized it would get very old very quick. Strutting around there for 3 months before The Simpsons started with my Bart Simpson t-shirt.
Yes,
Back when it was about Bart and not
and,
yeah.
with an onion ran about, which was a style at the time.
Back when I was a
Alrighty.
kid.
Okay. Wishing a happy 25th to Titmouse. Yeah, they've been there for 25 years.
Congratulations, guys. Well done.
Okay, one of the favourites of us, Gendy Tartakovsky, has leaked test footage for Black Knight. It's kind of an apparent attempt to move the project on from the development hell it's now lingering on. He's threatened to release more of it till it eventually gets made. So,
Wow.
all power
That's
to
very
him.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, let's see how that goes.
Oh, that's well worth hanging out for.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it if it ever gets shot. Okay, so speaking of Gendy, a number of trailers and teasers were shown as part of the New York Comic Con 2025 that happened over the weekend. We saw a trailer for the Mighty Nine, a trailer I think for the Duolingo anime that's coming out. Legends of Vox Machina Season 3 got a little bit of a teaser. Invincible Season 4 got a trailer, I believe, and linking us into the previous one, Primal Season 3 got a trailer as well, and it's something. It's not going in the direction I was expecting it to go in, or even the directions I was expecting it to go in.
Didn't our titular caveman part
Spoilers. Yeah. So
it's been out for many years. Anyway, it's on the right.
Okay, Lumens project is in the work by Rebecca Sugar.
Oh my God.
So yeah, from Steven Universe fame. So yeah, that should be great.
Oh, now I'm interested. Yeah. Gee.
Elmo del Toro is teaming up with the Paris Film School and Netflix to launch a training studio to help old-fashioned stop-motion animation techniques survive. Obviously, his Pinocchio has had some sort of impact, and he's using that connection he's got with Netflix to some good effect.
That's cool. Yeah. So France and Britain will have strong take two. Will have strong stop-motion sensibilities in the future.
Yeah.
That could be good.
Yeah, no, I like the sounds of that. And earlier this month, the Kickstarter for Dragon King has started. It's a continuation of Dragon Prince, which was produced by Netflix and no longer. Is that correct, Connor?
Yes, essentially they produced the Dragon Prince, but the Dragon King, I suppose either the IP has been dropped or they've gone to the Dragon King, which is like technically a new IP. I haven't read too much into it, but yeah, they're like, okay, we want to go into a continuation of the story, but Netflix isn't funding it, so they want to try and get it funded themselves.
Wow. Tricky.
Yeah, it's an interesting series from what I've seen. I've still got to catch up with my last episode.
I really like it, but I haven't finished it.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to what's coming soon. There's a few things. October 10th, which is already passed. We've had Kurukshetra, the Great War of the Mahabharata. Excuse me on that one.
It's tonight. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pantheon we don't see very often.
Yeah, one of the traditional operatic tales. So yeah, it should be or epic tales, I should say. Yeah. Splinter Cell Death Watch is coming out on October 14th. October 16th, Night of the Zoopocalypse. October 16th, 100 Meters is getting a cinematic release. It's not an anime I'm that familiar with, I have to admit.
One of the sporting animes.
Yeah. 18th, we've got Marvel's Spidey and Iron Man Avengers team up. So a younger orientated Disney product. October 23, Chainsaw Man, the movie, The Red Arc. So the latest arc in the Chainsaw Man anime series.
That'll be good.
October 23, we're getting a re-release of Paranorman for the 13th anniversary, and it's remastered. October 29th, Star Wars Visions Season 3 is coming to our screens, and it's moving back to its anime roots this time around again. So it looks like we're getting a few or at least one continuation from the first season with the Ronin Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
In black and white, so that should be good, and see how it goes from the rest of it. Looks interesting. October 29th, Disney's Twisted Wonderland, the animation. How to describe this? It's kind of like Hogwarts and Kingdom Hearts combined into an anime. So houses based on famous Disney villains. A school made for that.
Oh, I wonder. Okay, sounds very.
It's a little Harry Potter, a little Okay,
and October kids, eh? Yeah.
Oh, and anime presentation as well. So it's I don't know. See how it goes. October 30th, Paw Patrol Christmas is in cinemas. So yeah, and that's a rough run through quite quickly. Obviously, it's still the new season for anime, so a lot of what's already started are going to be getting new episodes going through. So keep an eye out. I don't think there's any major animes being released in October that I can think of. But if I'm in error, I'll let Connor know and he'll post up during the weeklies.
Cool. All right. On to the topic. This is the artwork from Dung. Thank you, Dung, for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I realized we're up to this part. Am I talking about this? All right. I do want to try something. We do want to try something where we need you, or we want you, to help us out. To try and make more of these sort of posters. I'm essentially, it's like a monthly challenge. Probably we won't announce it tonight, but somewhere later in the month, David will then announce like what the next episode's topic would be, and then that will give you guys the opportunity to illustrate something with Luby based on that topic. So at the moment, like horror Luby this month. So garden wall, obviously, and having Luby getting looks like slaughtered by the weird mushroom creature. I've not watched Over the Garden Wall. I've been meaning to. But yeah, we thought it would be a good idea to get the community involved.
Yeah.
So I will announce this in general later down the line as well, like what it will be. But for those of you guys, you can start illustrating. You can illustrate what you want. Have Luby involved. Then we'll pick out the one that people like the most, and then we'll put it right here, as you can see. And then it's a good way to just, if you want to have a bit of fun with drawing, and yes, it's a good way to have a little bit of fun. Get yourself a little bit of free exposure. So yeah, all right. Yep. Anyway,
Willow says that sounds like fun. So. In the chats, Willow says that sounds like fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, yeah, no, that's my job. There you go.
There you
go. I'm not doing my job.
All right. No, it's all good. You're doing multiple things at once. Let's get to the topic then. So we're talking about, it's spooky season, Halloween approaching. And, we thought we'd mention a little bit about horror for Halloween, and just talk a brief history of horror and animation, like a very brief history of horror and animation, and just say some of the things that have caught our attention over the last couple of years that are horror related. So just some recommendations. So horrors, let's go through the brief history, and it's going to be really brief, and I'll touch on aspects of horror when I reach it, as far as that changes in that genre goes. So look, horror's been part of animation since its early days, and part of cinema since its inception almost. From Silly Symphony, the Skeleton Dance, to Horror Royalty, Bela Lugosi, bare-chested modelling the Chernobyl in Fantasia. devils, skeletons, witches, and ghosts were common fare on our screens. When it kind of died down in the 50s, I mean, let's face it, we're talking about the end of the Universal Monster era with the last monsters in 54 for, I believe, Creature from Black Lagoon. It was dying down, moving more towards westerns, the space race, etc. So in the 50s and 70s, we saw things like more of a horror comedy related bent. So things like Scooby-Doo, Hanna-Barbera take on the old dark house genre, acted as a gateway for many horror fans. Like for myself, Scooby-Doo would have been like the first horror adjacent sort of animation I would have seen. Either Godzilla or King Kong would have been the first kaiju related animation from oh god, I forgot. It's Filmation for Godzilla. I can't remember what the Kong was by. Anyway,
that makes
sense. It's Rankin Bass. It's Rankin Bass. Thank you, Brain.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so and later on, other animated pieces would have acted as onboarding for a lot of early horror fans. Be that as there later on, the Over the Garden Wall, which is a great American folk horror sort of take. You've also got things like various versions of Scooby-Doo, but Gargoyles, Are Real Monsters, Courage, various versions of the Addams Family, all child-appropriate horror that they could watch.
With a laugh track sometimes.
Yeah. Same sort of thing you get with Universal Monsters meet Abbott and Costello. So that sort of light take horror. In the 80s and 90s, elements of body horror and gore became the draw card for the adult anime industry. So offering audiences something that new and dangerous to look at that wasn't available in traditional Western animation. So be that Tetsuo losing control and becoming a giant amorphous blob in Akira, boomers bursting forth from the human skins in the Bubblegum Crisis, or devilish cruelty of Ninja Scrolls, or whatever the hell Legend of the Overfiend was. Look, it followed on. It followed on from an increase in sex and violence and horror popularized by initially Hammer back in the 60s and 70s, and the gore effects of the 70s and 80s in American horror that were producing things, body horror and splatter effects. Cronenberg, yeah.
We all read our Fangorias back then. It was a thriving industry.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, as animation was accepted as more adult, we saw it shifts to less adolescent presentation, maybe, exploring more complex themes. You've got in the late 80s, early 90s, Perfect Blue, a shifting to psychological through border
late 90s, I think.
Yeah, I think it was earlier than you think.
Okay. It was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's right.
But anyway, it's
anyway, go on.
Please do if you can find it. Yep. Look, anyway, it was themes of fractured identity, and we can see that strong influence on the works such as Black Swan later on, which draws heavily on it, shall we say? In the last
97.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. I thought it was early 90s. 97. Jeez. Okay. Cool. Okay. In the last decades, we've seen shifts to horror from European and American horror. Things produced for Shudder, like The Spine of the Night. Things like The Wolf House or Blood Tea and Red String, and Mad God, which honestly has been going for a while, but it's only recently come out. We've seen adaptations for anime of Junji Ito's work, although they've been mostly unsuccessful. We've seen recently Demons, Yokai, being a central point in Demon Slayer anime, Infinity Castle, which was the top earning anime for Japan movie releases this year, and scored very well in America as well. So, just to honor the spooky season, we thought we'd talk about a few that have drawn our attention.
Yes. And then I was going to say, it's like, Oh, as much as I hate horror, I'm not a big horror person. I then find that I keep getting drawn back to it because a lot of my inspirations for some of the projects that I work on. I'm sure you remember, Lindsay, the first two 330s I did had involved horror in some form or another, along with a few other projects. But it's not always trying to be like in your face. It's more of the implications. One being like a time loop. Okay, you're stuck in the time loop, but you don't know. So simple stuff. But I tend to keep finding. So it's somehow, despite me hating it, it's kind of right up my alley. Anyway, this is a good topic for it.
I used to be utterly terrified of some of the early 80s body horror films, but I found them utterly irresistible. It was amazing. Yeah. It's more the idea behind them.
Yeah, it's weird. I tend to be drawn to like body horror or very kind of supernatural related things, even beast and horror. Like Chinese Ghost Story or Kawaii.
One of the first ones for me would have been Altered States. Altered States was had this weird advertising campaign, lots of weird sounds and stuff like that. And the whole kind of like melting human turning into a protoplasmic blob thing. And I was like, ooh. And then the other one that, of course, blew me away would have been Alien. Alien just dropped out of the sky and no one had seen anything even remotely like it. Like, it was called Alien and everything in it looked alien. It didn't look like it was from Earth at all. It didn't look like, some ethnicity from another country or a bunch of giant insects or anything like that. It looked utterly unique. So
but it's a classic haunted house in space, as far as its bones of the script go. Yeah.
So there was huge changes going down. So it was definitely time. Anyway,
all right. So let's talk about some of our picks. I've just got one for the moment, and this is a recent one that's just finished off on Netflix at the moment. The Summer of Hikaru died. So, okay, I'll give the brief elevator pitch for it. Two teenage boys sitting at a convenience store outside on a hot day, enjoying confectionaries. Yokoshi feels the urge to ask his friend a question. He's noticed a few changes in him since he went missing a couple of months ago up in the mountaintop. And, in conversation, he just brings up asking Hikaru if you're not Hikaru, are you? And the creature that is wearing Hikaru's body stops. His face starts to melt. He answers no. And from there, it takes off. A strange relationship. Yeah, a strange relationship between two guys, one of which is an unknown entity. It's a very, very slow burn, character-driven horror. There's touches of existential cosmic horror there in the nature of what is actually inhabiting Hikaru. As you can see from the artwork on the actual screen at the bottom there, a kind of a nebulous energy or slime. It's really unknown as to what it is so far.
It's like some color from outer space.
Yeah. There is that element of Lovecraft there, but it's weird. It's really Lynchian in style and execution. Look, it's about the unknown horror that lurks in the wilderness near the small town, but has infected the citizens of it. In the way it's presented, it will often focus on different objects when conversations is being had, or very close up to body parts while you're in conversation. It just kind of brings that tilt of horror to the mundane, and it's really, really interesting the way it does that. Look, it's a small town mystery box setting, existential horror lurking in the woods. The studio says that it's not sort of distanced itself from American horror, so that way it doesn't look like Lynch was a direct influence. It's just one of those cases of parallel evolution. It positions itself closer to J-horror inspiration. It's not really looking at jump scares as a way of producing horror, but a creeping existential dread that just sets its roots in early and stays there for the 12-episode run. It does start to expand into... okay. I'll talk about some of the themes early on that's got... Look, as I said, existential horror is one of that. You know, what actually does create identity of a person. But it also has strong themes of grief because, you know, Yokoshi is dealing with the death of his friend, despite his friend being there every day for him in a new form. It's got strong queer subtext running throughout it. Yokoshi is definitely gay. Hikaru may or may not have been initially, but obviously the relationship between Yokoshi and Hikaru is there. It's somewhat toxic in places, and it's interesting how the anime actually examines that. It's also because it's such a small town, you know, not only is Yokoshi keeping Hikaru's secret, but he's also keeping his own because it's a small town with very traditional values. And he seems very closeted. So there's a lot of different ways that you can read this anime as it goes along. And some people have even read that initial outing of Hikaru as coming out of the closet himself, when he admits that he's not Hikaru, but the thing, you know, actually possessing Hikaru. Around episode 7, there's a shift, and it moves towards investigating what actually is the entity, and that adds more folk horror threads to the mix. It's also really, really interesting in style. This is something by Cygames Pictures. So they are a mobile app company that's got a animation division to promote their horse girl racing games. And this seems to be their attempt to prove that they are something more than just that. So there's a lot thrown at the wall in this. It's adventurous in its style. It will shift, it will change styles quickly during a piece. I mean, one essential piece where Yokoshi's got his hand in the void that is Hikaru's chest, goes from traditional animation to a little bit of body horror as he shifts up and the slit sort of increases in the body of Hikaru, to very sort of abstract colors flashing through to a black background with white animation on it, and rotoscope, so it just feels very real and alive. And he describes it as touching cold chicken, and the image flashes automatically to a picture of cold chicken on a slab, just cut up there briefly, live action. And it is jarring and in your face, and it's wonderful for that. No, this is a really good piece of animation. I highly recommend take a look at. It's not always successful, but I admire its ambition. I really do.
Wow.
Okay,
So
yeah.
they paid their rent and now they're going for gold.
Yeah, okay. Willow, the pacing is slightly different from what I understand. I haven't read the manga. I'm normally an anime rather than manga guy. But some of the later elements with the village elders is brought in earlier, and that runs parallel. So you get things like the exorcist with the magic hamster, and the village elders that possibly sent Hikaru to conduct a ritual on the mountainside very early on. You also get a very weird couple of mediums running around the town as well. So it's changed the pacing. I think, from what I hear, it's for the better. it's just those stories running concurrent gives a lot of fires in the eye and a lot of balls in the air juggling, and you got to follow through those different threads. So yeah, that's one that I definitely recommend as doing horror right in anime.
Yeah, sounds good.
And just before I go, it's been renewed for season 2 as well. So it's not one season and done. So look out for more in the future.
Interesting. Well,
Lindsay's.
wow, I was thinking, animation and horror. I was like, I knew lots of horror bits in animation, but not an outright horror animation as far as I saw. So there was a couple I thought of. One was Watership Down. There's a few bits in that are quite horrible, but it's like horrible things happening to rabbits in a sort of revisionist 1970s sort of environment where environmentalism is starting to it's pretty much taken hold. And it's like, well, this is what it's like to be on the receiving ends of humans when you're a rabbit. And I was like, oh my God, that's terrible. So it feels more like an RSPCA sort of animal lib sort of thing. The other one I thought of was one of my old perennial faves, and something that was very influential on a very young toddler me, and that was La Planète Sauvage, Fantastic Planet, the famous French-Czech sort of film from 1973, and which there's a whole pile of where humans are ants on this alien planet. They've been plucked off Earth, and they live amongst these gigantic blue giants that are like Galactus-sized creatures, and we're just insects to them basically. And we're not even treated as human. Well, certainly not treated as human, but we're just like playthings and objects for them to kind of do with us as they will. And some of the de-omification scenes are where the humans, called the Oms by the blue drugs, get massacred like ants, literally like crowds of specks getting wiped out by all kinds of weird and strange alien devices. So that's pretty intense, but more it's kind of horrible, but I never saw it as horror. And then there's other films like Barefoot Gen or Grave of the Fireflies, and they would be good candidates. But for me, they feel more like kind of authentic historical dramas. Like it's like they're harrowing because they're actual honest to God war stories or historical sort of historical recreations of earlier times. A blow-by-blow description of a survivor's eye view of Hiroshima.
Yeah,
Hiroshima getting nuked. It's horrible, but it's not horror. Because I have a very definite idea of horror, which is more something staged. So that's never felt like horror to me. It's felt more like activism, anti-nuke activism during the Cold War. Especially, living in the 70s and 80s, all that stuff was just the background radiation of your childhood. It was hard to avoid. That's right. Well, yes, it's like horror was still, The Exorcist or something. So they're not horror per se, in the same way that a horror film is quite definitely a thing. The closest in animation, I would say, to a sort of horror would be a lot of the shorts. So things like I haven't seen it yet, but definitely Phil Tippett's film coming up, Mad God. The ones I'm thinking of are the Brothers Key. There's a pair of British brothers that made these amazing stop-motion shorts with found objects and glass and amazing texture and very surreal. And another guy was a guy called Jan Spunkmeyer, who was I think is he Czech or is he he's Eastern European, but he did these amazing surreal animations. And I think the ones I remember the most are Dimensions and Dialogue, which is, see at top right there, which is just like a kind of abstract surreal art piece about two heads meeting. And it's amazing stuff. I won't say any more because that'll spoil it, but you're getting an idea of what's happening up there. That's using clay, classic clay. So there's something very alchemical about this sort of stuff. The one below it is the weirdest take on Alice in Wonderland I have ever seen. That's Alice in Wonderland from 1988. That one is where he's using found objects, taxidermy, and an actual live action girl to play the part of Alice. It's really out there.
I think that might have appeared on our list previously when we were talking about childhood trauma, I seem to recall.
I'm pretty sure, but I never found it. I just found it amazing because obviously at the time I saw it, I was still a stop motion animator before I switched across to 3D. But yeah, there's all that sort of stuff. So if you want to check out anything, check out The Brothers Key and Jen Spunkmeyer. It's an interesting thing. I found by the time the 90s crawled around and the late 90s had come across, all this stuff had been sort of spoiled by Tool making her own dumb video clips with this stuff. So every time I tried to show people, oh, this is amazing stuff, they go, oh, it's a Tool video. It's like, oh, I felt like throttling them. And those like conversation is over. So yeah, now if you want an update on all this, you want to see the House series that's currently being streamed on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, the one where it has multiple stories, but it's
Yes.
always about a house.
And
Yeah,
that's
I
sort
watched
of like the
that.
21st century take. It's pretty out there.
That was something. I
It's-
liked it. Some of
I
them
did.
I thought was horrible, but
Yeah. That's like, yeah, this feels like when I'm reading a old-fashioned horror film or horror book, like horror short stories or something. It's like the psychology of them is what's really important, and that film kind of gets into the psychology of it. It's stop motion, but not the usual stuff. It's using felt and fuzz and all kinds of weird and strange things to give you a kind of Jan Spunkmeyer Brothers Key sort of effect, but a much more cleaner looking version. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But in terms of horror, looking over some of the films I saw before this podcast, the one that suddenly stood out to me was Paprika, 2006.
I really
Right.
liked Paprika.
Yeah. Now, Paprika is weird because at first glance it looks nothing like a horror film, but psychologically it's definitely in the same realm where, where's my notes? Here we go. So Paprika is the name of a dream avatar of a research scientist. And they're part of a team who invented a thing called the DC Mini. It's this discreet little modern futuristic looking gadget that you hook on your ear or something. And when you sleep, it can record your dreams and play them on a laptop. And then in the morning, your therapist or whatever can go through and literally review your dreams like they're watching a video. And so this is all very well and good until some scallywag steals one of these things and starts hacking the heads of all the people in the research institute. And so you have someone like in the middle of a conversation suddenly have what looks like a psychotic episode. And suddenly they're in a dream world talking nonsense in dream logic, and then they basically run around in their dream world before jumping out of a 10-story building or something. And that sort of stuff, which I found deeply unsettling. I've dealt with the passing of my parents and other relatives, and dementia was a thing. It was like, oh my god, this is hitting closer to the bone than I imagined. And yeah, so that sort of stuff. And there's this fantastic visual style for it. The opening sequence is almost worth the admission price alone, I think.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of, looking at it now and thinking over it, it reminded me a lot of the Michael Gondry videos. Remember those? The stop motion French animator that used to make video clips for the Chemical Brothers and Björk.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Human.
You should definitely look at it. It's pretty good. In fact, those three films they probably make a good set. That's the director's name.
It's a director, isn't it?
Yes, it is. He only lived till 46. He died quite young. No, that's Satoshi Kon. So look up Kon and Satoshi Kon, and he died in 2010, quite recently. Well, 15 years ago now. But and all these films are very similar. There's a female central character, and there's a blurring of reality and the dream states. So you could say it's Lynchian in that respect. It's a bit like, where you've got identity and dream states and stuff like that. It's all very subconscious. It's good, except it's got that kind of over-the-top Akira style surrealism at the end, all through it actually, where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, I was thinking like when you're talking Perfect Blue, that over the topness leads into the madness though. You get that perfect scene of the stalker coming after, and the avatar attempt of it. It's yeah. It's a hell of
So that stuff I felt like, yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking is horror. It's not so much blood and guts and silly monsters and parasites or anything. But that's the headspace it's in. And I guess you could say that about Natalie Portman and Black Swan. That's a kind of a Western response, I guess, and it's a pretty strong thing. So I find that period for anime kind of really intrigues me. Around the 2000s, late 90s, 2000s, there was a real sense that they were reinventing stuff.
Yeah.
And there wasn't just this guy either. There was a couple of others. Let's see now. Mamoru Hosoda, I think that's how you pronounce it. He did Wolf Children, which I'm sure became the template for most Gen Z's childhoods, I think. But essentially, that had some amazing sequences in it where they'd play around with space and time to suggest passage of time. And it's definitely worth checking out. It's got some really, really neat bits. And it's also got some really naff bits as well. Like I think at the end, well, I don't want to spoil it really, but I had a few issues with how they treated their mum at the end. But no, it was definitely interesting. So there was also another period where there was some very explicitly horror anime, things like Wicked City and Legend of the Overfiend and all that sort of stuff. And the trouble with that stuff is that I found it way too contrived. I tried watching, I think I saw Blame recently, just on your say-so there, Connor. And it has essentially a lead cool hero dude with a gun that can basically level a planet and has no emotions, in fact barely moves half the time, and somehow he's the most charismatic person in the whole cast. And it's like, oh god, here we go again, because Wicked City has one. He's got some unemotional dude with a gigantic handgun that when he fires it, he gets blown backwards. And he literally peels himself out of a human-shaped hole in the wall. It's just, and it goes from being edgy to being a bit stupid to Fist of the North Star stupid. It's like, I can't take this seriously any more than I can take seriously an oil tanker wedged in the 30th story of a large tower block. I mean, but Paprika got under my skin in a funny kind of way I did not expect. I think I'm a different person from when I first saw it all those years ago. So I find a lot of the anime horror a little too contrived. I've got to say the Hikuro one looks interesting. I like the way that's going. Maybe I've been brought up by all the early 80s horror maestros, what's it? John Carpenter, Wes Craven, John Landis, David Cronenberg, David Lynch. I mean, that's a pretty solid bunch right there. And lots of body horror animation where the physicality of the stop motion made it work, or of the effects made it work. And I think that's what I got out of the Brothers Key as well.
Yeah.
Mind you,
so there's something there for everyone.
Absolutely. Well, we had a sports anime up there on the old coming soons, didn't we? Yeah, it's got everything you need. But yeah, no, anime horror never really appealed to me. Unlike manga horror, that's a whole different freaking story. Oh my god, I'm looking at you, Uzumaki. God damn it. Was it Hidesho Hino's Hell Baby? Wowzers. Have you ever read that?
No, I haven't. I have to admit.
It's right up there with the very, very best of EC horror. I do have. The staging in that is just, oh my god. I looked at the page and thought, oh yeah, SCP horror thing, ho hum. And then actually sat down and thought, wait a minute. This is whole, what seems like dozen pages where Dad finds out he's got a hell baby.
I got your hard copy.
Oh, there you go. Oh, crikey. Oh, I'll have to check this out. Whoa. And so they have this whole thing where each page builds you up. Oh, it's a cliffhanger. And you go to the next page. Oh, no, we haven't revealed it yet. It's another cliffhanger. And it just builds up and builds up. And then finally we get this, double page spread of the hell baby. That's that stuff. Yeah. So but it's not just a gruesome picture. Like half that story is spent getting you just hold still, just hang. I'm just going to put this bucket of custard over your head. Just don't move, and then ready, 1, 2, 3, and suddenly you're wearing a bucket of custard, and it's like it sets you up, and then delivers. And like, man, that's so John Carpenter. I was impressed. So you could use that as an example of storyboarding to make your own super duper horror film. And got all the close-ups, all the build-up.
Yeah, as I was saying, if for some reason Ito's work hasn't really translated well to anime, it could be budget.
It's like Jack Kirby hasn't quite translated
as well, like it's more suited for the medium of reading because you're going to read and it knows exactly what you're going to see next. Maybe
and the art style lends itself very well to it. That strong ink work that he has,
yes,
black and white look. It's just there's something stark and beautiful about it.
It's been a long time since a comic book slapped me between the eyes like that guy did. The only time it's done it that profoundly, and hell spells, and here I am in my 50s, was the early Jack Kirby when I discovered a Spider-Man comic. And I could, my parents had warned me, violence in comics. And I thought, and then I saw Spider-Man in grade 1. Like, oh.
Well, this is hilarious.
What is this? Where's this been all my life?
This is my older brother had put this down on my desk and he was like, here, read this. I had no idea. I think it was like 11, 12, something like that. I read through immediately. As soon as shit started to go down, I put it down. I'm like, I need to walk away, get my mind into gear of like, okay, this is what I'm reading. Okay, and then it started again. That's
a horror film or a horror story. None of this kind of this terrible blood gore. No. It's a psychological thing. It's like something that's it's found your lizard brain and it's pressing all the buttons in there.
You need to watch Mad God, Lindsay.
I want to see it on the big screen first.
Yeah, good luck. I need to pause it every 20 minutes to do a walk around the block and just kind of breathe and get in touch with reality again.
It looks so Ralph Bakshi. I just love it. Yeah, it's like what was it? Interviews are always good. Now that he's grown the huge Mad Santa beard, I think it's definitely improved. He was. I think I saw him in an interview where he was having a problem with the industry, so he zaps, hits a whole pile of LSD, goes to the center of the earth, has a conversation with his cat, comes out of it and thinks, right, that's what I'm going to do now. Resolves his issue that way. It's like, okay, that's very hippie. I like it. And so, it's good. I've got a lot of time for old Phil Tippett. He's indeed a mad god.
All right.
Build him in his name.
Connor, let's hear your take.
All right, I've got a couple. This one I had been meaning to get around to watching, and I finally got around to watching it specifically for tonight. But Alien Monday. This one was a pretty cool one, I think. This only came out last year, but had been in the works for at least 5 years and been produced by 2 animators. So that would be Oda King Animation, that would be Paul and Claudia. It was a 20-minute short film to pretty much in the same look and style of the 80s and 90s style anime. So your classic like still your big painting backgrounds, but you'd be looking at the little thing and going across, and a lot of I've already forgotten the word. It's a lot of it was used in Akira.
Well, those dark tones are very, very Akira.
Very heavy parallax. So a quick rundown on the story without spoiling it. I highly recommend you go and watch it. I liked it. It follows a protagonist. So the protagonist, I actually couldn't remember what her name was already, but she wakes up from cryo and she's going to do her normal ship thing, whatever they do on the mining ship, and she discovers that they're hauling something that shouldn't be on the ship, but is anyway. And then in classic alien fashion, you could kind of expect to know what happens. It's very much following the same story beats of a classic alien film.
Mm-hmm.
well, I say classic. I'm specifically talking about Alien, not Aliens or Alien 3 or whatever. Like specifically Alien. Yeah, it's definitely like you know what's coming, but it's still a fun watch. I remember seeing this like 5 years ago, and it was just a tutorial on how he draws his spaceship, like how he animates his spaceships. Because this was back when I was first learning animation, first getting into it, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I didn't realize 4 years later I'd find out, oh, this was that. Oh, okay, I didn't realize that, because essentially it had 3D models, which you then draw over frame by frame, and then you draw in his extra details on top of 2D. So this is all 2D animated. So yeah, it's very good to see that the Alien IP translated into anime style. So also, I thought it was really cool that in the credits it had Colin Bennett, Onion Skin from Tumu, as a subtitle. So I was like,
Well
Colin
done,
Bennett, Colin mentioned. So that was really cool.
That's good.
But yes, I think you'd definitely like that one, Lindsay.
Okay, so it looks interesting. It's got the Akira vibe, and it's got this sort of sober 80s, 90s anime look about it, which I kind of like. I always found those triangular faces a bit weird. But no, it looks cool. It looks very cool. Yeah. And what's the other one?
And the one that I'm a little bit obsessed with, and I was writing it, I was like, okay, I have so much to talk about. I couldn't write anything down. I had no idea because I didn't know how to put it into words. Anyway, Blame. There is actually 2 animated things of Blame, interpretations, adaptations. So the main one I'll talk about is specifically the 2017 Netflix one. I think that Blame is a good one to adapt because you don't have to worry about it messing up the story, because it's really hard to mess up a story that's kind of not really relevant or possible to do in like an anime or a show. The Blame, I have to go back a bit. Blame, I think, was actually awesome because it's the scale of it's too big. I'll explain. I didn't read. Anyway, so besides that, I loved it. It left such an impact on me that I have been using it a lot as a heavy inspiration in some of my current projects, especially. As a hint, you should probably check out the Animation VFX Discord if you're not on there already. I have thrown a couple of sketches in there just for funsies. Anyway, there you go. So the whole concept of Blame is that a city is maintained and constructed by an automated system that humans had built. However, they had lost control of that, and the city continued to grow without human control, meaning that there's chaos, there is no real safe, there's no logic, it just keeps growing. And then during the process of that, humans lost control, they had also been considered illegal pests. So the city is not only growing indefinitely with no control, it's also trying to kill the inhabitants that it's technically building for. So originally, obviously, it was adapted from. It was a manga done by Tetsumu Nihei. Nihei did it. I can't pronounce the last name. Nihei. So the movie itself focus on the human struggle to survive in an environment that is originally built for them. So essentially a colony of humans, they're safe, then Killy, the main character, which is the main character in the manga and the movie, he comes in, stuff happens. I say go watch it. It was essentially I go and watch it, and then I was like, oh, this is interesting, but it got me hooked. And then I went to the manga, and then I got hooked further. So yeah, essentially the city then finds the colonists or the little civilization, and then they have to try and figure out a way of living or getting away from where they are. It's hard to explain it in a very quick thing, but anyway, the overall story itself, and this is where the manga steps in, is less about the characters and more about the mega structure itself. That is where I've really been getting into, because Nihei actually has a background in architecture, even though he bailed so he could do manga full time. So he spends more time showing the environment, which is the backbone of the story itself, rather than the characters in there. You have the main character Kili, but he's more of just a vehicle to transfer you from one location to another. So he's also supposed to be like sort of human, sort of not. I've never really figured out if I know that he's not fully human, but he's kind of human, and he says he's human. But he kind of lives forever, and he can keep walking forever, and it helps. And because he says, 2,000 hours have passed, and he's still walking up a flight of stairs from one panel to another. That's the kind of thing that I'm finding, that kind of horror is the bit that tickles my brain, because basically it's claustrophobia on a macro scale. You can have a huge room larger than the planet, but you're still confined. If you want to dig through a wall to get out, say using the gravity gun that Kelly has, the one that Lindsay had spoken about earlier, the big super thing that can blow a hole in the planet, doing that to dig through a wall, there's a wall behind it. Okay, dig through another million walls. There's still more walls, and you're still nowhere near getting to the outside of the city. You could also climb a stairway that goes up 1,000 kilometers or two, and it'll just lead to a blank wall. There's no reason for it to be there. That's the kind of thing that I'm really into, because it's like you can't escape. Even though you have all this room and all this space, it is an incredibly hostile thing, and then you have to think, how can anyone live here? Like it's the kind of, it's sort of, I guess, going back towards like the liminal spaces sort of thing. I did get into this before that exploded, before that trend took off, but it's very much like that liminal space where it's like it feels like it's designed for humans, but there's no humans here. It's not comfortable for life. It's not designed for life. It's designed for humans, but not for life. Anyway, so throughout the manga, you don't ever actually get to know how large the city has become, but some fans speculate that it is the size of the entire star system. Because at one point, the main character actually discovers a room that is larger than Jupiter, which is now empty. They speculate that it housed Jupiter, and it then got used up as resources. So it's a Dyson sphere.
Nice work.
But there's like so many layers inside of it. It's just continuous. Yeah. It's concentric Dyson spheres, which each layer is like they call it the mega structure. Is just a layer which acts as like the floor and the sky of each.
That's cool. That is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's more Fist of the North Star than Fist of the North Star. Turn green, oil tanker wedged in the building. That's great.
Yeah, it's completely crazy. Like, don't try to science it, because I think someone had tried to calculate the amount of mass you'd require to actually build something, the amount of resources, and they say you'd probably almost need the resources of half a galaxy to build something that dense.
Oh. Yeah. Didn't Ian M. Banks have a concept called the Shell Worlds in one of his later novels, in the culture novels?
Ian Banks.
Like that have layered planets with like floors, and as you went down the planet, there'd be a different floor with a different biome, with a completely different alien race and climate living in there.
Yeah, well, that is essentially what's happening in Blade as well, because
except this one's hostile for life.
Yeah, this one's
Yeah.
hostile to life. There is more details that there's like silicon life who had actually caused humans to lose control because silicon life was original like robotic people. They wanted to live, but humans were like, no. It's kind of like the Matrix, really. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some inspiration there. And then
It's like being trapped in a fractal.
yeah. Yeah, you're trapped in the fractal. You can't escape, even though you could look like even in the like main movie poster here, you can see that it looks like it just goes on forever. But you know that it's still going to keep going because it's just that large, like much larger than any planet. Anyway, so the reason why I'm obsessed with that, and I'll lightly touch on Girls' Last Tour because it's got very much similar flavor. I also really like this one and I recommend it. But the story of it is basically two girls who have fled their war-torn home to go on an adventure to find a better place. They do in fact find a better place. I won't say any more than that there. But it's more this actually goes on about the characters more than the environment, which I find really annoying because it's like I want to know more about the world. But Blame also doesn't really tell you about the world. It just shows you all the pretty visuals. So this does somewhat the similar.
Blame implies it, and then you work the rest in your little brain there. Yeah.
It doesn't hand you any of the answers. Girls' Last Tour does hand you some answers, essentially. So rather than it's being the whole world, well, you don't know if it's the whole world, but it's essentially there are some super large cities. This is one of them that they're in that goes up as high as into the atmosphere. And however, there's not a single person to be found in the majority of the story. There are a couple of people, but there's almost no one in a city that looks like it's designed for billions. However, so the difference between Girls' Last Tour and Blame is that rather than in Blame, which is a constant fight for survival, everyone's just trying to survive in a place that's trying to actively kill them, which is all like surviving in the face of the impossible. Girls' Last Tour is more about accepting that there is no point to fighting and just to let go and have fun with the time that's left. So it's a very wholesome and incredibly sad story, but I highly recommend it.
Isn't that? Oh, sorry.
No,
Go on. Isn't that absurdism?
I was going to say because it's because it's very much like you can see how bleak it is. Like it's also a difference in the two characters. One of them is constantly trying to be serious and being like, we need to get food, we need to find shelter, we need to make sure we have resources so we can keep going. Whereas the other one's like, ooh, fun thing. Let's just go willy-nilly and just go crazy and have fun. And then that's the dynamic that they have between the two characters, which I also really like. And though it's not horror per se, it's horror because it's like there is no hope for this. They're not going to find anyone else. If there's no civilization, that's it. Humanity's dead. They go extinct. It's like the end is inevitable, but it's put in like pretty colors. Everything's nice, though it has bleak moments. It's a very pretty story. The point that I'm making is that I really like that these animes have the similar oppressive architecture, and then a lot of it's like larger than you can imagine, but the stories can just be the story is irrelevant because everything else is much larger. But you can it allows like to see a point of scale, like banana for reference. The story is the banana. So, but yes. Anyway, you're saying, Lindsay.
Yeah, it sounds like absurdism where there's if you live in a world with no God, then there's everything's horrible and futile and it's not for us. And so how do you deal with that? Well, you just come to terms with that, really. You realize how absurd it all is. But that's, I think deep down inside, there's this kind of critique, if you like, no, the universe is not a problem to solve. It's just there, basically. And yeah, but this is kind of interesting. This whole kind of mega structure thing. It's like almost like an urban nightmare. It's got an Asian quality to it, not like the Judge Dredd high-rise nightmare of, say, the UK. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a lot of the. Sorry, I was going to say, it reminds me a lot of some of the older God tales, like is it Caracas? Abandoned, incredibly, strange city of giant aspects that nothing seems to be there, or what once was there is dead.
Happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were kind of glamorously, fantastically old and empty. These ones are
whereas this is
new and empty. It's kind of interesting. I like it. You're right. I mean, the anime I saw Blame, the 2017 Netflix thing, and I think I only saw about 5% of what that thing was about. And it came across as a kind of game cutscene because the main characters were just so not there. I found it very hard to get into, but the surroundings were great. Had that whole dirty white plastic aesthetic going down.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's like, I think he can adapt it. I realize I'm kind of retroactively saying the opposite of what I said earlier. I think, yes, Blame is something good to do any story in. That's probably what I meant. You can do any story in because those stories will never interact because of the scale. But I definitely think it's, unless if you're just doing kind of panning shots or like scale shots, like I definitely think maybe Blame is something that's probably better in manga form than in anime.
Could be.
Yeah. All right, so I'm noticing we're at the hour or over the hour mark but we're almost there.
What?
Yeah, no, it sounds like we should be wrapping up. Okay, let's go with the basics. Anyone still in the audience? Anyone that sees this in the future, let us know what we missed. What was your onboarding piece of horror cartoon? What, if any, appeals to you about the horror cartoons that are around at the moment or have been around? And are you watching anything? Not even
be a horror. Oh, sorry. Lag.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you watching anything for Halloween that's animated?
I'll be doing Mad God. I definitely need to get around to that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh man, should I wait or just indulge? Like, just I'd like to check it out on somewhere like Luna on the big screen with an audience.
I don't think it's going to get a Monday double. It might do.
But it might get an art house release in a festival or something. I don't know. I'm in two minds on this one.
I think you've missed the opportunity to see it on the big screen. I think you're just going to have to.
You might be right.
Just get a projector and a big white sheet, and just hang it up in the backyard and go and watch it there.
Hold your mobile phone directly in front of your eyes.
I need my long vision, and I need to hear the echoing soundtrack. Preferably softened by the presence of 400 or 800 other people. But anyway.
Someone that you can hug and cry into.
Oh, no, there's nothing quite like hearing 800 people do a sharp intake of breath all at once. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. There is one more. Watching 800 people flinch at the same time is quite impressive as well.
Or in the case of The Empire Strikes Back, 400 girls cry out, Luke, when he gets his hand cut off, and then the whole audience, what? When Darth Vader drops the bomb. So,
all right. So I think with that we'll call it for tonight and this month. So have a happy Halloween, people, and we will see you next month with some topic to be decided and put out to the audience before then. So it's good night from me.
Good night. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's good night to you guys from me. Good night. Right. There's no one below me. There's a big space the size of Jupiter, I think.
All right. We're off. Cheers.